the airline did not do anything. So what do I do? So one issue, one irritation that comes to my mind is, should I file a litigation against this airline? Some people will say yes, some people will say no. But if I narrate the story completely and if it's based on the experiences, it becomes a lot more interesting to debate and discuss whether it's worthwhile to litigate. But some people will argue that you are a teacher, you are a professor, you don't have time to go on there, just keep going with your work. Bad experiences do happen in life, forget and move on. It depends on many people's view. For example, we had a general who is now a minister called B.K. Singh, and he challenged the retirement order because he thought his age is underrepresented in his records. Now, this is a moral ethical dilemma, but this is a decision-focused case. So, decision-focused cases are charming, easy to understand, and easy to relate to, easy to hang on. Therefore, there is a preference towards decision-making cases. But on the contrary, there are cases which talks about perception building, there are cases which talk about descriptive nature, and what can we learn from that entire episode. For example, if you go to L&T and they do projects and they do like mega projects, what can we learn from these cases in terms of better ways of managing a project? That's a very fascinating story on its own. But you need to go deeper into this and try and figure out what makes a project work, what makes a project not to work, and what are the most essential elements of a project to succeed. That's a descriptive kind of a case, but it's worthwhile. Similarly, for example, if you want to understand, for example, I wrote a case recently on how the Bombay Municipal Commissioner dealt with the COVID-19 situation in Bombay. This is a descriptive case. There is no decision. There is a sequence of decisions that is taken by the Bombay Municipal Commissioner. If you put all these decisions together, you get a mosaic which can look at the leadership of an organization. So it is leadership in the context of crisis, but that comes from a sequence of decisions. It's in one decision. So it is more of a descriptive case, it's more of a prescriptive case. And those cases are also equally important. Let me give one more example. For example, you look at by a company A buying company B. There is a merger. There is a buying process, acquisition process. After the acquisition is made, the cultural integration of these companies happen. There is a business integration. There is an organizational integration. There is a cultural integration that happens. And these are very important things, and people can trip in making these decisions. So if there are a sequence of cases, which are about 10 cases, which talks about how these acquisitions have been very successful, then you get an idea of how to deal with them when you are in the driving seat. This, I think, is important. Therefore, cases can be divided into two parts. One part is the decision-making cases, and the other part is the perspective-building cases. I think both of them are equally important. Some people will argue that I love decision-making cases, a case must have a decision context, etc. But that I think that argument is not complete, it's not 100%. We don't want to criticize that argument. But there is an equal space for cases which are prescriptive, which are narrative, which provides you an understanding of the broad picture that is involved. In fact, those cases are very difficult to write. Those cases are also somewhat difficult to teach. Whereas a decision-focused case is very easy to teach and easy to write because you have a decision context, you are focusing everything around that context, you talk about the plus and minus of that, you provide the data, then you are there. Whereas in a perspective building case, what to add, what not to add, how much of that to add, how does it cohesively connect, all these things becomes difficult to figure out. And therefore, those cases are, in some sense, a little difficult but right. But nevertheless, we must know there are two possibilities, and these two possibilities we talk about. And the next important aspect of case writing is, are you writing a case based on primary data or are you writing a case based on secondary data? For example, IIM Bangalore has recently written a case on Ram Mandir. They talked about how the Ram Mandir is being financed. Now, obviously when you read the case, it's very clear they have written this case based on secondary data. There is enough information available on Ram Mandir, the construction activity, because it has become a national movement. Everybody is talking about it. The Prime Minister himself is very deeply and religiously involved in this activity, and some people are saying history is being rewritten. So it's a very important event, which we are witnessing and which we are seeing. I'm not getting into the religious parts of the story, but the event is very important. Large number of people are coming by this, that, etc. So IIM Bangalore, two family members from IIM Bangalore felt like they must write a case on this, and they felt they will not look at all aspects of this, but they will only look at the financing part of the Ram Mandir activity. I mean, as we know that no money has come from the government, the entire financing of the Ram Mandir has been by public donation. So it's a very different kind of a financing model. And it is not equity based, it is not subsidy based, it is not loan based, it is voluntary donation and which is coming to them. Therefore, they written a case on this. Now, this is primarily a case written on based on data available in the market, data available in public domain, and you try and put it together in a cohesive way and stitch a story to that. That becomes a case, and it's possible to do that. That is cases which are based on secondary data. Now, secondary data cases have their own charm and they have their own limitations. The charm is it is easy to work with these cases because you are at your disposal. You can go to the correct whatever data you want and put it together in whatever form you like, and you are not obliged to please anybody or satisfy anybody or seek anybody's approval. Whereas on the other side of the set of cases are cases which are known as primary database cases, where you go to an organization, immerse yourself in the organization, go through the life of the decision maker, understand the context very clearly, cross currents very clearly, the positives very clearly, and not so positives very clearly. Who is supporting him, who is objecting to him. Not supporting means not him as a person, but his idea. So you try and immerse yourself in the organization, interview a whole range of people who are connected with the decision making. In the process, what happens, you become very rich in terms of understanding the context. Also, I find as teachers, management teachers, we must do more of that because that's where we learn a lot which is not available in the text. And because practice teaches you a lot more than what is written in the textbooks. And we know the textbooks, we know the research papers, we know the articles, they are useful, worthwhile to read, but there is nothing like practice which can teach you more. Therefore, when you start an attempt writing a primary database case, two things happen. You have a charming case before you, you have a relevant case before you, and as a case writer, you stand to gain by the interactions with the people who matter in the system. So I think it's a double whammy. You get a case which is good, you also get an experience which is enjoyable, and you can bring that experience to the class depending on the environment, depending on what is required, and many, many other things. So I think the cases that can be, as I mentioned, there are two types of cases. One is a decision-making case, the other one is a perspective building case. There are two ways by which you can read a case, and therefore 2 into 2 becomes 4. You can have cases which are based on primary data. You can have cases which are based on secondary data. For example, I can write a case on Swiggy without meeting anybody in Swiggy. So because there is so much available in the marketplace, and I can do that. Similarly, for example, I can write a case on Uber. The crisis in Uber or difficulty. For example, Uber doesn't go that well in Ahmedabad because Ahmedabad drivers are very conscious of cash. So they would like cash to be paid, and they would not like the Uber accounts, bank transfers, etc. Credit card transfers are not acceptable. They would like the cash to be paid because they believe cash economy. So to some extent, Uber has a difficulty in dealing with the Ahmedabad market, Ahmedabad drivers. Rest of the philosophy remains the same. I can always write a case on the difficulty for Uber to manage operations in Gujarat. Now, this case can be purely based on secondary data. I need not interview anybody in Uber. I can go by whatever information that is available in the market, in the secondary market, and write this case. This, I think, is the point that I wanted to make. The third important point. I can pause here if there are some questions. We can possibly take it. Please feel free to ask any question you want anytime. You can interrupt me whenever you feel like. But I'm moving on to a very larger issue in case writing, and that's something which we should all ponder over a little bit more seriously. Should a case be written? Should a case be written to illustrate a theoretical concept? For example, a very elementary example would be IRR, internal rate of return, is a concept. Should I write a case to illustrate this? Total quality management is a concept. Should I write a case to illustrate this? Kaizen small group activities are a concept that are well known. Should I write a case to illustrate this? Is one set of observation. The other set of observation is can cases be used to develop a perspective, and based on this perspective, some empirical consolidation. Based on some empirical consolidation, some insights into managerial life. That could be a theory, or that it may not be a theory, but some insights. For example, if I looked at in an organization, if I looked at let's say 20 attritions, 20 people in the sales category of my organization has left in the last 3 months. I have done an exit interview with all the 20 of them, and based on the exit interview, I come to the conclusion that if the person has an MBA, the chances of leaving the organization is relatively higher. And this is the conclusion that I draw. Therefore, what I do is in the recruitment phase, I go back and correct the recruitment phase by saying we will give lower preference to MBA candidates for the sales job, but if you are recruiting an MBA candidate, we'll put them on a slightly different job, different role. This is the conclusion that I draw. Now, this is one example of, what is the data? What is the basis of making this conclusion? The basis of making this conclusion is I looked at 20 attrition exit interviews. Each exit interview is a case study on its own, and then the rest of things follow from that. So therefore, people debate constantly whether a case should illustrate a theory or a case should lead to building an empirical evidence and hence potentially or possibly a theory. These are the two broad dichotomy that we have. What I'm going to do is, since I have been talking for the last 20 minutes, I do not know whether I'm making any impact or otherwise. I want the audience to say what is their take on it. Do you think, in your opinion, a case should illustrate a theory, or do you think, in your opinion, a case should help to build a theoretical construct? Anybody wants to add, talk?
Hello sir, good morning. Pankaj this side. From my standpoint, being a finance faculty.
थोड़ा आवाज ज़्यादा करो. I'm not able to hear you completely.
Am I audible now?
Yes, I will also increase my sound a little bit. Just 1 second. Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Am I audible now, sir?
Yeah, very much.
Okay, so
who is speaking?
Pankaj this side, sir. Finance faculty from IIM Amritsar. So from my standpoint, I think the case should be more on to this decision building, and then the combination of secondary data and empirical results based. I'll prefer for that side. But maybe.
Yeah, that's true. I think I appreciate what you're saying, but I think what we are trying to debate is, should a case be written to illustrate a theoretical concept, or should a case be written to illustrate resolving a managerial problem, and therefore a sequence of such cases can help to build a theory. That is what we are trying to debate.
Sir, yes, a case should have an application of theory through building some model, but building a theory in a case only, I believe it will be a bit bigger agenda, which I am not very experienced of. So.
Say it again. I don't think I can.
So,
say it again.
Illustrating a theory and using some empirical model to prove or disprove something, some decision, or helping in decision making makes sense. But building a theory based on illustrating a theory, or the combination of empirical results, is something which is beyond my I would say understanding, or is a big ambition for me. Is a bit ambitious.
Are you saying that your case should not should focus on problem solving, or are you saying that a case should illustrate a theory?
Case should illustrate a theory. That is what I am saying. But my point is, building a theory on the basis of a case is something which I don't understand. So.
Yeah, okay. Now let me clarify that. You can't build a theory based on one case. You do a perspective, you do an empirical construct of a theory by looking at 20 cases. That's what I said. If you look at 20 attritions, I may be able to arrive at a common reason as why people are leaving my organization. So if you do only one iteration, and if you look at one exit interview, you may not be able to get the same richness in terms of what you are trying to conclude or what you are trying to arrive at. So I think that part is clear, but let's push this a little bit more. I'm going to ask this question again. How many of you think a case should illustrate a theory, or how many of you think a case should focus on a problem solving?
Good morning, sir. This is Dr.
Good
Brent
morning.
Sir, I want to, my comment also has a question. Like I have read our cases which propose a theory, already written theory, management theory. They teach students to management theory. But sir, recently I wanted to derive some empirical conclusion. Like I wanted to write a case paper based on several teaching cases on women entrepreneurs, and my topic was resilience in women entrepreneurs. So I had collected the cases also from Harvard Business School, their collection, and I had collected 10 cases, and I had made the structure of the paper and everything. But I just got confused whether it is allowed or not. So I just wrote to them asking whether I can use those cases for writing, making this, coming up with this conclusion or theory regarding the resilience in the women entrepreneurs. But they rejected this idea. I don't know why. Because I had already seen one paper which was written like that. So I am confused whether we can make out some empirical theory, or through empirical data or through cases, we can use these cases as an empirical data and propose a theory or not. So whether it is within the publication ethics or not.
Who has rejected the idea?
I wrote to HBR. Someone replied. They said
that is bound to happen because HBR does not allow you to use.
Yeah, they said that their cases is only for teaching in classroom.
Yeah, only for teaching, and they will not allow you to even to be. You can reference it, but they will not allow you to reproduce in a book unless you are HBR faculty.
But whether we can take cases from some other journal or not, whether it is within the publication ethics or not.
No. What you can possibly, I mean, there are ways of doing that. Like you can generalize the issues and then put it together. Anyway, HBR has got a policy. We will not discuss that policy here because that's not our agenda. But I think what you're doing, in my opinion, is very sensible and it makes sense. I don't know. I mean, you may have some roadblocks, but the roadblocks have to be addressed. To me, building an empirical framework based on cases is a good idea. And these empirical frameworks can be subsequently tested by either experts or by additional data support to evolve a firm theory. For example, let's look at this most famous concept called blue ocean strategy. Have you heard of this concept called blue ocean strategy?
Yes, and I recently wrote a case on this. I even won the best paper award in that. That was the title of the case was Asan Curves, Navigating Blue Oceans in Menstrual Hygiene Sustainability. So it was about the menstrual cups, and which is a blue ocean in Indian market. So my case was right about that only.
The point is, blue ocean strategy is a concept which is well accepted it is not a theory, but it is a concept which is well understood. Theory is slightly different than a concept. But this concept is illustrated in a whole range of case situations, like in a whole range of situations which are business friendly and business oriented. So in some sense, you have a concept and you want to illustrate it through case studies, or the concept itself might have come from case studies. So therefore, to me, the difference between concept and theory is order of magnitude. But if you have got a concept and if you articulate it very carefully, that becomes possibly a theory. So I think theories can come from pure economic considerations, theory can come from psychological considerations, theory can come from mathematical and statistical considerations. But theory can also come from empirical evidences arising out of case studies. But my question is still not answered. What would your preference? Suppose you are a teacher in the class, you are teaching or in the teaching community. What would be your preference? Would you like a case to illustrate a theoretical construct or a concept, or would you like a case to solve a practical situation?
Yeah.
Anybody?
So I would like to take up the case to first of all problem solve, but solving that problem in the backdrop of a theory. So if we are trying to solve a problem with a theoretical background in the background, so there is more credibility to solving that situation. It lends
So
more
what is the
credibility.
guarantee that your theory is right?
It may not be, but there can be a starting point to it, and that could initiate the discussions of whether the theory is appropriate.
Think it over a little bit more carefully. The whole concept of Toyota production system came from practice. It does not come from theory. The concept of total quality management came from practice, not from theory.
Yeah, so to begin with,
the defining role of a manager is to solve a practical problem. You are sitting in Punjab, let us say you are a superintendent of police of a particular district, and you encounter a law and order problem. There is a mob which has surrendered a property, a government property, and they are trying to destroy the government property. As a superintendent of police, what will you do? Is the question. As a superintendent of police, you cannot say, I will use theory X, theory B, theory Y, and theory A, etc., etc. I will have to bring the situation under control as rapidly as possible, minimize the damage to individuals, and minimize the damage to the property. This is what I want to do. But there are general principles of crowd management. Principles of crowd management is different from theory of crowd management. There is no theory of crowd management. There are general principles of crowd management. For example, if the crowd is intimidated by the presence of the police, they will disperse. If the crowd gets the feeling that the police may use force, they will probably move away. If there are visible police people around that area, the crowd may subdue. So these are some principles of crowd management, but this is not a theory of crowd management. The larger point is trying to say that I will solve a practical problem with the background of theory may or may not be appropriate. And please let's go back to the origin. I think my preference is clearly I would like to write a case which will solve a practical problem, or which will help to solve a practical problem, or which will help to discuss a practical. I will not write. I will give a lower preference to a case which illustrates a particular theory, because a theory, for example, suppose you have got a multiple regression equation, and it can be illustrated by a whole range of exercises in the class. I don't need to have a case study to illustrate a regression model or something very similar. Okay, the larger point is the reason why I'm using cases are I want to enrich the managerial competency of my students. The managerial competency of my students is enriched not only by theoretical construct, but their ability to solve a situation or resolve or make decisions in a given context. Therefore, it is extremely important that we write cases which will enable our students to debate, discuss, and design a practical context. A practical meaning, practical here is a real context. So this could be a way, because writing a case to illustrate a theoretical concept defeats the primary purpose for which cases were designed. This is not the purpose for which cases are designed. So therefore, I would personally recommend, it is my bias, and this bias is based on some rationality. If I write a case which illustrates a theoretical concept, vis-a-vis a case which enables me to help my students to debate, discuss, and design a practical situation, I would prefer the second one. So we have talked about three issues. The first issue is we classified cases into two categories. decision-making cases versus perspective building cases. We also said there are two ways of writing cases. One is based on secondary data, the other one is based on primary data. Then we came back and said the purpose of writing a case is to either illustrate a theory or to provide a platform where students can actively discuss, debate, and decide a particular context. Those are the three things that we talked about. I told you in the beginning that case writing is a serious business. Case writing is not possible if you are not connected with the industry. When I say you, it's not necessarily the individual faculty members. The business school should be well connected with the industry. If the business school is not well connected with the industry, case writing is not possible. And the case writing is a serious business. It takes a lot of time. A reasonably good case will need about a minimum of 20 to 30 hours of work. And it can be sometimes as high as 40, 60 hours depending on the depth of the case, depending on the complexities of the case, depending on the data that you need to put together, depending on the interviews that you want to make. For example, I spent 1 full month in writing a case on the merger of Standard Chartered Bank and the Release Bank. This case was to be written, and I was interested in writing this case. How the merger has happened, post-merger, what are the things that has happened, how did they integrate the organization, business-wise, organization-wise, and culture-wise. And it took me 1 full month to do this work. So it can be very serious work, and therefore what is needed is, unless the ecosystem is very supportive, unless the college or the institution is very supportive of it, case writing is going to be very difficult. I don't want to be cynical, but today what is happening is the institutions are divided into two parts. The high-end institutions and the top-class institutions like Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow, Indore, Kozhikode. If you look at some of these institutions, they are competing on this ranking game, international ranking game. And for example, if you take Udaipur, case writing is not a big activity in Udaipur to a large extent. Research publication is an important activity. So the ecosystem is skewed towards research publication in top-tier journals because they value ranking and the incentives are accordingly organized, and therefore case writing is not necessarily that priority. I'm not getting into your opinion that it's right or wrong, but when you are focused on international ranking, case writing will be a casualty. This is the reality, and therefore the ecosystem has to be, the leadership of the institution should worry about how do we promote case writing, otherwise it won't happen. If you look at the tier 2 and tier 3 institutions or colleges in the country, their primary aim is to do the teaching, basic teaching, and therefore their industry connect is somewhat limited. Because the industry connect is somewhat limited, the talent to write cases, the opportunity to write cases are not necessarily forthcoming. Therefore, they have their own difficulty. This also is a non-starter for case writing. So case writing has to be a conscious choice. And it has to be done in such a way it incentivizes the faculty, both emotionally as well as financially. And anybody who is writing cases should be celebrated, should be recognized within the organization so that this activity becomes let's say symbiotic with the institutional objectives. If we turn around and say that I will reward only ABC journal, category journal publications, I will not reward the case writers, then automatically the system will move towards less and less case writing and more publications in the top tier journals to the extent that is possible. Therefore, in order to case writing to flourish, you need to have an ecosystem which supports this. Let's just, for example, look around in this country. There are so many FDPs happening. How many conferences are happening on case method, case writing, case research, presentation of cases? You will find very rarely conferences on case method, whereas there will be conferences on every subject in the country. And FDPs are usually focused on research methodology or how to write good research papers, etc. I'm not saying that should not happen, but along with that, we must also put adequate emphasis on case writing. Otherwise, the ecosystem for case writing will not develop. Then I think a few things that I wanted to share. I can stop here if you have some questions to ask for a few minutes. I can park. How many minutes we have? We are at 11:59. How many minutes we have?
We have 15 more minutes, yeah.
Sorry?
We have 15 more minutes, yeah. Sir.
15 more minutes, that's perfectly fine. Anybody wants to ask a question at this stage?
Yes, sir. I would like to ask one question. This is
Please.
Dr. Baput from MIT World Peace University, Pune. My question
Keep
is,
your mic closer to you so that we can.
Sure, sure.
Please. Yeah.
can you please guide on writing robust learning objectives in case of a descriptive type of case? How to write robust learning objectives?
No, there's nothing called robust learning objectives. The point is like, all these constructs are involved over a period of time. If you've got a genuine case, learning objectives follow automatically. For example, you take the example that I talked about Indigo, or the example of litigation, or the example of VKC. What is the learning objective? The learning objective is very, very clear. The dilemma of General Singh in fighting with the government for 1 year extension in service, or the dilemma of Professor Ravichandran in fighting with Indigo to give a fee. The dilemma of Professor Ravichandran in trying to express his anger with Indigo because of the poor service quality. These are very, very clear objectives. There's nothing to go around and look around the robust objectives and things at the time. Then what will happen is, for example, if you're talking about litigation against a doctor, the dilemma is very clear. I have been at the receiving end of a poor service. How do I deal with it? What are the consequences of that? I want to illustrate this. That will be a learning objective. Now then, the risk associated in litigating, and the reward associated in litigating, and the moral ethical dilemmas if there is any, and if the doctor decides to retaliate, how would he retaliate, and how do I integrate this in my decision-making process of litigate otherwise? These are the learning objectives, So the learning objectives would by and large follow if you have got a reasonable problem on hand. If the problem is imaginary, learning objectives is very difficult. If you are struggling to get the learning objectives, that means your problem.
No, I'm particularly asking in case of a descriptive case, not a decision-based case.
Sorry?
I'm asking in terms of a perspective of a descriptive case, not in decision-making case. In a decision-making case, it is very clear. But
no, even in perspective cases also it is easy because see, my point is this, perspective, what kind of perspective case that we are talking about. For example, take for example, I have written a case on how the Kumbh Mela crowd management is done by the local police in Uttar Pradesh. 3 years, 4 years before Kumbh Mela was done very well, and we have written a case on, I'm saying, suppose somebody wants to write a case on how this Kumbh Mela was effectively managed. This is not a decision-making case. This is a sequence of decisions that are made by the person in charge to make sure that the Kumbh Mela is incident-free. So what would be the learning objectives of this? How do you manage a mega project? How do you manage what kind of a planning is necessary to make sure that the event is incident-free? How do you identify the risks or source of risk, and how do you mitigate the sources of risk? What kind of resources that needs to be deployed in trying to make sure that this is event-free? And what are how do you measure efficiency in this? How do you measure effectiveness in this? These are broadly a couple of learning objectives that I can think of immediately. But we can add more depending on the particular context. So the larger issue, what is the relevance of technology in crowd management? What is the relevance of many other things one can build on. Should the police be used here? Should prevention is necessary or monitoring is necessary? Those kind of issues can also be discussed and talked about. So therefore, my simple response to you is, if the problem is real, or if the context is real, learning objectives follow. You don't have to run around and fish for learning objectives.
Sure. Thank you so
Did
much.
I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay. Sure. So any other comments, any other questions before we move on to the next stage? I have 2 stages to go, and I'll be happy to take any other comments if there are any questions, comments.
Yeah. Sir, most of the time, it's a personal preference. I don't find any problem into, finding a case problem. But the difficult part for me is to write a teaching note. So can you please give us in brief that what should be an ideal teaching note and how should we approach for a teaching note?
Now, I don't have a prescription for all these things, but the article that I have given talks about the inspector manual. They have talked about very clearly the whole range of steps that are necessary. You may follow that, you'll get a reasonable teaching note. To me, the core of the teaching note is the approach to the central problem. As a teacher, you have talked about a problem, and there is an approach available to this problem. And that would be the core. That is what we call the analysis of the case. And then you can add and subtract, a whole range of things like, what kind of research methodology used, who is the main person in this case, who are the related and unrelated people, what are the learning objectives, how the class should be, how the time should be spent, what is the relevant material which may be useful to this, and what would be the lead questions. So all these are peripherals. The core to your teaching note is your approach to the central problem of the case. If you get that right, everything else can be filled. If you don't get that right, you will keep going in circles, and you will never be able to come up with an appropriate teaching note. Your teaching note should be extremely friendly, it should be open, it should be complete, it should be transparent, it should be honest. It's not like you hide something in the teaching note so that only you know it. Others who are teaching the case are finding it very difficult. That's not acceptable. Your teaching note should be a very clear, open, transparent, complete document on its own. You can do that only when you know how to resolve the problem that you have on hand. Okay. And did I answer you to some extent?
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yeah, okay, let me just then quickly get on to a couple of other things, like, we talked about the reward system for writing cases. And there are three parameters that I've used whenever I write a case. Of course, a case has to go along with the teaching note. A case without a teaching note is not a good idea. The length of the case is also an important criteria. There is no point in writing a case writing to 50 pages. It doesn't make sense because people cannot read. They can't comprehend a whole lot of things. So divide it. If you want to write a 50-page case, call them as case A, B, C, D, so that no people can focus on different issues as they go by. In my opinion, an ideal case, if you are using it for the first year MBA students, it should not be more than 5 to 7 pages, including all exhibits, etc., etc. If you are using a second year strategy classes or OB classes, HR classes, etc., if you want to bring a little bit more flavor to that, 15 pages. I would say more than 15 pages is a luxury. So you may be able to cut down a lot of things. I mean, if the case goes beyond 15 pages, let's say max 20 pages. If it goes beyond 15 or 20 pages, it's very obvious that you're adding a lot of things because you want to add them. They may or may not necessarily add value to the case. So the length of the case is a very important criteria. It can range from anywhere between 7 pages to 20 pages. Complex cases, heavy-duty cases, 20 pages. Simple cases can be about 5 to 7 pages. That should be okay. Then the most important thing, which I think very often, I read cases of others more often than cases of mine, because it gives me a perspective how others look at cases. And I find usually, people play a hide and seek. I mean, a case should not be left hanging. You cannot describe the situation for long and then come back and say, okay, now what is next? Okay, now what is next I cannot answer unless you tell me some additional information about what I am discussing. Many times, what people do is they write a case and they have some idea in their mind, some theory in their mind. So if you go to the teaching note, they will bring some 2-3 related articles, which is not discussed in the case, and they'll say, we'll discuss these articles in the context of this case. It doesn't make sense. So, I mean, these are, to my mind, they are very academic exercises, but they don't fall into the good case writing, a good teaching case writing. A good case teaching, a good case for teaching purposes should have 3 criteria, in my opinion, 2 or 3 criteria. One, it should be honest. It should be honest and transparent statement of your problem. It should provide all relevant data. Otherwise, don't write. The third important element, it should be self-contained. I mean, when I solve a case, please understand, you put yourselves in the shoes of the student. The student does not want to go all over the world and find out what are the related material. You please give me all material in one place. Let me take a look at it, review, and arrive at a decision. So therefore, it's a bad practice to write a case where a lot of external information is only available to the author, but not to the reader. That, I think, is something which we should avoid. So I think I would suggest, length of the case is very important. Keep it as modest as possible. Only add things which are necessary. Please do not remove things which are critical. When it comes to the most important dimension is the case should be self-contained. It, as I told you, I would say it should be transparent. It should be self-contained. It is no gimmick that you play. When you can't say somebody like, no, I fold my hands and keep it like this and tell me what is in my hand. Nobody can answer that question. If you want to be a very sensible answer, yeah, that will be the answer. But you can't say I'm a mushti band karke rakha hai, ab bataye mushti ke andar kya hai. That doesn't make any sense. So therefore, a case has to be honest, it should be transparent, it should be complete. It should not draw on external resources excessively without reference to it in the case. That I think is very important criteria to write a good case. What I'm going to do is, since I'm left with a couple of minutes, I'm going to give you one or two examples where we have made the cases a little better by our own retrospection. The first example is I was in a company in Delhi where over lunch we were discussing, and the management of the company said they are going to drop a particular product. They have a range of products and they are going to drop a particular product, and this decision is made because there was a consultant who gave them an idea that this product will not exist, it's not your business, you can leave this. This is the same industry product, but the product is for a different kind of a segment. So during the lunch table, we argued that why dropping the product will be disastrous to the company. And the managers become more and more curious. They started saying that, are you saying that what this consultant has said is wrong? I said, I'm not getting into the discussion because that's not my cup of tea. I'm saying, given the information, dropping this product may not be good for the company in the long run. This is what I'm trying to say. So when I said this, they got more and more excited, and then we wrote a case on that saying, should the company be present in the market segment or not, in that particular market segment? So that turned out to be a very fascinating case, and I used in the class to communicate a large number of issues related to strategic thinking, and it's possible to do that. So therefore, sometimes what happens now, ideation of the case can come from an open conversation. So if you keep your eyes and ears open, you may get an idea to do a case. Now, the second thing that I wanted to share with you is somebody wrote a case on a Panchayat hospital in IIM Amritsar. And there is a dilemma, there is a conflict between the Panchayat hospital, the medical officer of the hospital, and the management of the Panchayat. And we were trying to, the case was positioned as how do we resolve this issue. That's how the case was positioned. I taught this case in some other context, and then I quite liked it. So I went and told the case writer that this case is beautifully written. It provides an opportunity to identify the conflict, source of conflict, and also helps you to resolve the conflict. But life will be a lot more easier if you add a half page on profile of the doctor. What is his education? What is his life habits? What is his ambitions? What is his vision in life? Why does he join the hospital? What is his career history? If you put all that, one half page of that, the case discussion will be a lot more fun. And it could sort of bring in a lot of positivity in the overall discussion. And it will lead automatically to the students to think what is the source of conflict. And it so happened that this is an example of toxic leadership. Therefore, in order to bring the toxicity in the leadership, you need the profile of the doctor. So the case writer, who was a friend of mine, agreed to this and immediately wrote up half a page on this. And every time we teach the case now, it is a glowing success because we know we have added something more. So these are two examples to communicate to you that ideation can happen at most unexpected places. A case can be made more enriching by adding appropriate information. This is something. There is something else which I wanted to tell you, which is not a very positive thing, a negative thing. I have been teaching a case on a company which deals with the air coolers. And this company has recently purchased a China-based company. And the case abruptly says, how do you deal with this China-based operations? I cannot answer any questions related to that because you only purchased a China-based company. I have your history. I know what you have done so far. But you went and recently purchased a China-based company. How do I help you to understand, or how do I have a discussion in the class how the Chinese operation is to be managed, or how the Chinese operations are to be integrated? For which there is no information. There is not. This is a 20-page case written by a very outstanding institution in this country. I don't want to name the institution. It talks about a whole range of information about who started the company, when was it started, how did it grow, what has happened, the plus and minus of this company, and then they went and bought a plant in Mexico, and then they successfully turned on the Mexican plant. Now they purchased a Chinese plant, and they have this strategy shift of like now one market, multiple products to one product, multiple markets. All those things are beautiful. But the end question is, how do I integrate China with my operation, for which there is no data? And it's a very crisp one page, one paragraph write-up saying that they went and bought this Chinese company at a particular price. So how do we integrate this operation? So I'm left completely blind because I don't know what to do, because there is no data, there is no information on the China, the market, the competition, the nuances of the market and things like that. So you feel completely lost. So I would recommend such cases are to be avoided. Or if you want to write the China expansion, you must put additional information around China, so that now people are able to articulate which way it could go and things like that. So I gave you 3 examples. One, not a very positive example. 2 examples which are extremely positive as how things can be improved. Therefore, I know we have a very limited time and we are running short of time. I just wanted to touch upon a few aspects of how to look at cases and how to write cases, and that's basically the idea. And this is not the end of it all. This is a long journey. That's why I gave you this article. Please take a look at this article. And very quickly, I'll be happy to take 1 or 2 questions before I say goodbye to you.
Hello, Professor. Hello, Professor. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hello, good afternoon. Are you able to hear me, Professor?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, firstly, thank you for the wonderful talk and your insights. I know the question that I'm about to ask is a little beyond the purview of writing a case, but I still just wanted to kind of know your thoughts on that. So, of course, we discussed about whether the case is descriptive or oriented towards making a decision. I just find that as I'm new to kind of interacting with the MBA participants, first year or second year, how do you make a descriptive case more interesting and more, like make the students more curious about it while you are dealing with that and teaching those cases, vis-a-vis a case where there is a underlying dilemma and where you have to take a decision where participants are naturally more inclined towards those cases, whereas descriptive become kind of after a point, how do you kind of make it better while dealing with that practically?
No, I think there is a very interesting dilemma, but the answer is very simple.
Okay.
See, I don't think we should undermine the descriptive case's impact. It all depends on how well the case is written. See, descriptive case is not equivalent to putting some random things together and just leave it at that stage. For example, I have seen a case written by some international authors, I don't remember I know the name of the case, but I don't remember the author at the time. The larger point is, this case talks about it talks about a manager who has to deal with the logistics and supply chain in the context of a snowstorm in America. This is the context. But the descriptive of the case is not a decision-making case, this way to go or that way to go. No. The case is more about how does this person deal with this situation. Okay? There are a whole lot of things that are involved. So the description talks about this personality, his family life, his family expectations. The case talks about a little bit about his professional environment, his expectations from the boss, his career progression, his ambition in career progression, etc. The case talks a little bit about this person's personal life, more specifically, he is thinking about his children's life, additional money to the family, his wife's conflict with him because he's constantly focused on work. The case talks about a little bit of personality and management style of this person. How does he do a few things in the context of that snowstorm to bring back normalcy, what kind of decisions that he makes without worrying about the risk involved, etc., etc. How his secretary is trying to come in the way and say, please don't do this, but he doesn't listen, and he is very focused on promotion, etc., etc. And then it also talks about the recalling from his father, what kind of advice his father gave to him, and how he trained himself as a good golf player, That's a description available there. And then there is a conversation. He stays overnight in the office without knowing what not to do. And there is a conversation with the janitor of the institution. And that conversation brings a little bit more insight as the balance between work life and personal life. And that's how the case ends. So if you look at this case, it's a beautiful case because it provides you a whole range of issues that you may pick up, and the clear emphasis on this case is very clearly how do you strike a work-life balance. That's the most important dimension. The second point is when something untoward, unexpected has happened, what do you do? A snowstorm has happened, and you can't do anything about it. Now there's no point in running around that now. Just wait until the snowstorm gets over, calm it down for 2-3 days, and then do your recovery operations and learn from this next time in terms of better planning. That's the second message that comes out of this case. So the larger point is in descriptive cases, if it is written properly with multiple dimensions and appropriately organized information and data, will teach on its own. You don't have to even worry about teaching this case, because every time I teach this case, my students come back and say, "Sir, this is an amazing case that we ever discussed, because it gives us a guidelines as how we should focus in our life between professional accomplishment and personal life." I think that clarity is very, very important. So descriptive cases, even decision-making cases, if they are poorly written, it will be suboptimal. The same thing is true with the descriptive cases as well. So I would not say I will not call them as descriptive cases. I will call them as perspective building cases.
Okay.
That's more important. That's a better word,
Okay.
rather than descriptive cases. I hope I answered.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else wants to say something? Yeah, the last 1-2 minutes I will take to communicate. Nowadays, publishing cases are becoming very difficult. Even though there are multiple channels available, publishing a case is becoming more and more difficult, because somehow the editors and the journal people have started thinking a case should look like a research paper. And this, I think, is a fundamental. And then they come and ask you literature review, they come and ask you what gap that it fills in, and what is the need that is not addressed before is being addressed here, etc. If you start asking these kind of questions, there won't be any answer to this. So one may keep this in mind. Nowadays, it's becoming more and more difficult to publish a good practical case in the context of the academia, because they are pushing them towards the research paper. I think that's unfortunate, but that's what is happening. I don't know how the trend can be reversed, but we need to figure out a way to do that. Maybe there is a need, and a clear need to create a small entity, a journal, which will focus on practical cases. And the turnaround time should be very rapid. It should be about 10 days time. You should get a response from the journal saying that no, this case is going to go or not. And once you agree to go, there should be a good coaching mechanism by which the case is shaped up sufficiently so that it is available and published in a particular context. I think that could be a way to go about, but there are difficulties. The days have changed. 10 years before it was easy to publish a case. Today it is much more difficult. So because they are expecting a case to follow the same norms of a rigorous research paper. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Yeah. Sorry that I could not do this.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a really informative session. We would have loved to see you here, but we do understand you could not come because of the fog.
Another time.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Thank you. Can I leave?
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you. Good luck. Bye-bye. Yeah. Please convey my regards to your director.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Moving ahead, our next session is a highly insightful exploration into the art of publishing in top journals. We are honored to have with us today a distinguished speaker, Professor Sushant Kumar Mishra, a professor from the renowned Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. He is an active researcher, having published his work in A-star journals such as International Journal of Information Management, Journal of Organizational Behavior, Human Resource Management, Australian Journal of Information System, and Journal of Management Studies. He has served as the chairperson of the dissertation committees of several doctoral candidates. Besides being a member in many such committees, currently he is the Associate Editor at Personnel Review and IIMB Management Review. He is also the Reviewer Editor at the Frontiers in Psychology. So without further delay, let's extend a warm welcome to Professor Sushant Kumar Mishra. Sir, please, the stage is yours.
Am I audible? Yes. Okay. So good afternoon. I'll be sharing some elements of publishing in journals. I am also a novice. I am also trying to learn how to publish. So whatever I'll share based on my experiences and interacting with some people who have published well. One of them is Professor Ramadhar Singh, you might be knowing. Recently, we honored him with the Lifetime Achievement Award at Indian Academy of Management. So some of my thoughts are also influenced by his thoughts that I heard in some context and discussing with him. Today, I'll share something about my understanding of publishing in top journals, right? Yeah, publishing in top journals is rigorous, but also it is enjoyable. So when you're writing papers, please enjoy that process, right? And keep smiling. Because you will know that highly likely your paper will be rejected because the acceptance rate is very low. Right? But this process of writing something is really energizing and also it motivates us. So we say publication is important, and you know most of the institutions they are talking about publications. And I was talking to some of my colleagues in some of the IIMs. I found it is very difficult for them to say A, B, C, D. You know what I am saying? They are saying A, B, D, C. They forgot to say A, B, C, D. So that's happening with changing time. But we say publication is not possible if I don't do research. Right? Somehow we have considered publication as research, which may not be true. I try to bring this debate to make sense. If you look at science, it says A fulfills its mission to advance science and serve society. The purpose of publication is to reach out to masses, reach out to practitioners, so that what we are saying as scientists is also implemented in the and contributes to the society. Nature, what the editors say that we believe in the transformation power of science and its potential to drive positive change in the world. So they're trying, can I do something, can I contribute to the society in a positive manner, right? That's why publication is important. Lancet, they are in the health sector, what they say is, the science we publish, publication comes here, can be used as an instrument to accelerate action to advance health and health quality, right? So the implementation of our knowledge, that's why comes the role of publication. Management science in the domain of management is a scholarly journal that publishes scientific research on the theory and practice of management. And what they highlight is the journal interest extends to managerial issues in diverse organization forms. So they try to address the issues the managers face, and hey, can we provide some solutions, some guidelines to the practitioners? So we need to reach out to. So our knowledge will be accessible to the practitioners. That's why publication plays a role. A study was done in 2021 by Sage Group. They reach out to around 373 respondents, mostly in USA, UK and India. What they found is interesting. 81% of the respondents, they said that it was either important or highly important that the research have value outside academics, right? They want it to be valued in the outside the academics. 94% either agreed or strongly agreed that ultimately the goal of their research is to make a positive impact on society. People intend to contribute to the society, and publication is the way to contribute to the society. So publication is important for all of us. So we are talking about research, but if I do research for my own consumption, probably it is not the point. Research should contribute to the society where we are operating. So I add this into two parts. Some of us will do publish, some of us will don't believe in publication, right? Some of us will do research, some of us will don't believe in research. So I am putting them in a matrix just to make sense of the importance of publication and what is happening in the current context. How do you describe these people? Neither they publish nor they do any research. Have you encountered these persons anywhere? You will find a lot of people around us and they claim that, hey, I am a management teacher, right? And they feel proud about it. And someone rightly mentioned that they are just like the traffic guys, right? People who manage traffic police, right? They are stagnant and they drive momentum, right? Could you see the paradoxes, right? They are stuck to their knowledge 30 years back and they talk about the future managers, right? The question we need to ask ourselves is, do I want to be like that? Or I need to also move. So these people are called Raichans. Raichans, you know? They give gyans, you know. Management field is not expanding, management field is not growing, but they stuck to their knowledge 30 years back and they will give you a lot of gyans, right? They have any, without any clue to either the issue or the method and confidently relate everything under the sun to the suggestion. They will give you suggestions without appreciating that over time period the research has progressed. Because they have not updated themselves, they can give you a lot of research questions which may not be authentic, right? The second guys we say sabka saath khud ka vikas. So they believe in publications but not in research. Have you encountered people, right? And sabka saath means they are good at networking, right? They will find out good people and push their name in that journal, so for their own benefit, right? How do you describe these guys? We say these people are ghanchans. If you debate with them for 5 minutes, I guarantee you, you cannot talk to them more than 5 minutes. Because they don't know what is there in their paper or on what topic they are working, right? And they will give you global things which cannot be refuted, right? So these people are there. If you ask question, they will close their eyes just to escape that question or avoid that question. They come up with an idealistic suggestion that adds no value. Something it should happen like that, give global gyans, right? You might have seen these guys. The third category we call as they do research but they don't publish. You might find a lot of faculty members, they are good. They understand but they don't spend that time to publish, right? And they bring whatever they did research to the classrooms. They educate their students. But mostly it is for their own groups or maybe for their own curiosity. So these people we call as khud ka saath, khud ka vikas, right? Because I started that the purpose of publication is to reach out to the society where we are operating, right? To contribute more to the society, but mostly they are confined to their classrooms or maybe confined to their own understanding, right? And these people we call as their gyanchans, right? They have lot of gyan and their focus is to criticize others, right? These people, they don't understand, they are focused more on publications, right? But they are good at finding fault at others, right? And they don't offer them any solutions because they don't want to share their knowledge with others, right? So we are surrounded by interesting people. How do you describe these guys? The other quadrant. They are good at publication and also good at research, right? We call them sabka saath, sabka vikas, right? They reach out to people to understand the problems, try to work on it, and also try to disseminate their knowledge to the wider audience, right? So that people we call as karamchans. These concepts are taken from Ramadhar Singh, these names. So I am talking about these 4 types of people. One is Raichans, Dhyanchans, Gyanchans and Karamchans. Karamchans means they work, right? And research is just not about coming up with the curious questions, but also solving it. And solving part takes time. Method, following a method, writing your manuscript, it's a very mundane, routine task, but it takes time. But people who are, we call Karamchans, they not only come up with great ideas, but also execute that so that it is consumed by people in the society. If I want to give some weightage, how many percent do you feel they fall into the Karamchan quadrant? All of us are academicians. Any guess? How many of you, if I want to give some weightage, how many percent fall into the Dhyanchan group? Dhyanchan, you know? Sabka saath khud ka vikas. Can you give some weightage? Right, we have our own numbers, right? But if you see, people who are falling in this Karamchan group are little less, right? Because they want to do good research and also try to publish in good outlets where they understand what they are doing. I will return from this point. Now, the criticism that the management literature we are getting is, pre-COVID coverage in the top-ranked business journals seemed largely oblivious to broader societal trends and concerns regarding pandemics. Before the pandemic, not a single journal, top journal in management, they could predict something is coming, right? Means we are not aware of what is happening in the environment. This is the ASQ, and what he is saying is, organization scholars have stopped asking big, important questions and instead have devoted increasing focus on technical precision and manageable research, right? We are focusing more on methods and manageable research, but we have not kept sight on what is happening in the society. That's why we are losing our relevance, right? So the people are not so much interested in reading our articles or our contributions. We are losing our relevance, right? That's why the top journals, they're asking the questions, hey, why we are gravitating towards publications? This is an interesting article published in Times, the Economic Times. More than 3,000 papers a day. We are good in numbers. And the value of incremental strides versus eureka moments that change everything, right? Most of them are very incremental. The trend towards incremental advance using the enhanced form of citation analysis, a steady drop in what they call disruptive findings, right? There is not much work we have done which will challenge the way we practice or the managers they practice, and it's not a good sign. Much of today's business schools scholarship is far removed from the actual practice of management, means we are moving away from the practicing world. Annual academic conferences are very close loose, right? So the AOM president says that by cutting practitioners as an audience out of the loop, we cut out reality from the academic cycle. Lack of managerial relevance. So the management scholars need to find out, hey, publication is important, but publication of what? Are we really making any sense to the practitioners, the practicing world? These are the questions the management scholars are struggling now. Right? One hand publications, but the other hand it's all about research. Somehow we have got our links with the reality. Research is missing. Focus is more on publications, so methods focus and some manageable way of publication is coming there. So we say when I talk about research, only context comes into picture, right? Because I need to identify a problem. The managers are struggling, so I need to embed myself in the context. That part we have not given adequate attention, or we have neglected that part which was core to us. Now what is happening? Mohan Bhagwat, he has said, the degrees are being awarded on a large scale in the country, but there is a slowdown in research work. Right? Actual research we are not doing, a lot of PhDs, and probably they are getting these PhDs to put doctor, a fancy title. Narendra Modi in 2023 India Science Association delegate says, research be directed at making India self-reliant. not just publication, but to help the society to move ahead. Somehow these questions are coming, and hence the importance of research is highlighted in many multiple forums. Why am I sharing with this? Probably if I want to become a Karamchand from so-called Raichans, I need to move, and the way moving forward is maybe to move from doing no research to do some meaningful research. Alright? Publication will happen, but at least we should start doing research, try to solve some problems that the managers or the society is facing. Publications will follow. Now what the business schools are doing? Harvard Business School, the requirement that a doctoral student spend some time in the field, typical in their second or third year. They are forcing their students to go to the field, understand what is happening. London Business School PhD program in Management Science and Operations requires students to spend a month in the field. It means they are forcing their student to go, be there in the field to understand what we are doing. Sit in your labs, right? We need to think about it seriously. The Organization Science, FT50 journal, what they are saying is new settings, right? They are interested in new settings, just not on the same settings, new context, mechanisms that help explain phenomenon, enrich theoretical models, or improve causal inferences. These are the work they are interested. Insights on important social problems and grand challenges. You look at all the top journals, they say, hey, how these articles are helping us to solve the problems the managers, the society is struggling. And in Harvard Business School, they say students are challenged to form new insights. New insight doesn't mean a new theory, but new way of solving the existing problems. Regarding the most critical issues in business management, our students become the next generation of faculty who will make a difference in the world through their teaching and research. So the emphasis is shifting back from publications to research, and that to meaningful research, to solve the problems the managers are facing. Pursuing a PhD is about mastering a field of study and contributing to the creation of new knowledge, right? Just not publish something, but at least try to do something, solve some issues that is the real world is suffering. So the question that we all struggle is, and it is already debated in the literature, who should benefit from the organization research, right? What is good for the advancement of our knowledge? Am I adding something to this field where I am doing the study, or it is only for my CV? Publications that we are seeing all around may be falling in this category, but probably we need to do something to contribute to the field that we are operating, right? That is required. Yes, the advancement to our career is required, but that should follow. That should not be the primary goal. So current state of Indian academics, probably we need more and more people in the Karamchand category, and we need to move people from Raichand and Dhyanchands, people who are not doing any research too. Maybe people should do some meaningful research, right? Now if you look at in India, because publication is the focus, so business is growing and people are coming up with predatory journals, right? And it is very disturbing, and it is not only in India but also a global threat. And in India, a lot of papers, people sometimes don't know which type of journals I am publishing, right? It actually not only brings down our reputation as scholars, but also the reputation of the entire academia, our entire community. Need to be careful about it. Publication at what cost? There is a site and in India, and they are saying the cases of plagiarism is happening in most of the institutions, right? It's not a good sign for all of us, and we don't want to see this list, right, going forward. We need to be careful, right? At the end of the day, what am I doing, right? And we are bringing disrepute to our institutions. Now, there is a survey of 9,000 odd respondents, increasing awareness of gaming the system through self-citations, forced citations by journal editors and reviewers, and citations made by researchers who haven't even read the articles, right? We are trying to increase the numbers, publications, our own careers, but actually not doing some meaningful research, right? So currently, if I talk about India specifically, the publication is more important than research, right? And that's not a good trend. So when you talk about publishing in top journals, probably we need to bring that research element to our publications, or else, take it from me, we just can't publish in top journals, right? We can publish in, or we can create our own journals, but that the readership will be very less and our impact will be not so high. These are the negative aspect of things that I am sharing, but there's some good news and very good news actually. India is world's best kept secret. Most of the context, Western context, they are curious to know what is happening in India. Right? I did a quick study just to find out what are the research happening on India and in India. I put these two broad headings. Any article that talks about India specific things, I say, well, there is some research is happening on India. People who are doing that research may not be from India. And research done by Indians from Indian institutions, right? That we said research done in India. I looked at the top journals and tried to see the pattern across decades. Now this is some of the list from 1991 to 2000, from 2001 to 2010, and 2011 to 2021. Research on India and research in India. If you see, the patterns are very encouraging. Research on India has increased. They are the top journals in our field, in management field. Research on India has actually gradually increasing, right? It's an increasing trend. But if you say research done by Indians in India, it is not so high. What it indicates is there is a lot of interest on Indian context, right? People are interested to know more about India, and there are not enough researchers, enough scholars who are doing meaningful research. So there is a lot of opportunity here to push. Also in marketing, right? Research on India is growing. Journal of Consumer Research, you can see all the journals. Marketing science has increased. Journal of Marketing on India is increasing, but by our own Indians, long way to go. A lot of opportunities. Journal of Finance, still it is zero. People are interested in our context, but probably we are not publishing in this journal being in India, right? So what I'm trying to highlight here is, yes, a lot of good things, a lot of opportunities to push, because the world outside is looking for the research on Indian context. We need to fill that gap. What is holding us back? And the other opportunities are also there. Disruptions are happening, and COVID is an example, right? AI, generative AI, they are coming, and a lot of opportunities. So the publication houses are moving towards convergence. Right? COVID taught us importance of science and scientific approach, speed, how quickly we come up with the solutions, multidisciplinary approach, and focus with the changing context, right? The focus is shifting. So this multidisciplinary approach is picking up. Let me give you some example. The Lancet commissions, their topic was they're discussing about ending stigma and discrimination in mental health, right? So medical and psychology, they are coming together to resolve the issues, right? Multidisciplinary is happening. The Nature, the journal, which is talking about, it's all in the mind, right? So science and psychology, they are coming together. I'm giving some examples of psychology because I'm coming from that background. So opportunities are very high. But the question is, why are we not publishing in top journals? We don't have depth of talent. We have. But somehow something is holding us back. When we talk about publishing in top journals, it has two aspects. One is the exciting part. The problem excites us. We are curious to answer. Once we find out the solution, then we are not interested in that work. We just give it up. But remember, publishing in top journals is also a very routine, mundane task. One aspect is finding out the solution. Second part is writing, rewriting it n number of times so that it can be publication worthy. Most of us in India, we are good at the first part, the exciting part. We don't give the time or efforts to bring it to a logical conclusion that is required. Most of us, we are good at Gyan chants, We'll find out the solution, we're happy in that. But we need to shift from being a Gyanchand to a Karamchand, right? Because the wider audience should know that yes, there is something to take away from here. I was looking at some journals. What they are saying is, have you done something new? New doesn't mean earth-shattering or something entirely different. New means that is there something new that I am saying theoretically? Is that I am trying to bring some new context to solve the problem? Or am I saying something in new methods? Is there any novelty in what I am saying? If I am using the same method, probably they may not be interested. There should be some novelty, maybe at the theoretical level, method level, or data level, to highlight our contributions. Is there anything challenging in your work? Am I challenging some existing theories? Am I challenging some existing practices, right? They are interested in those things. Will your results influence other researchers, right? Am I setting something which is questioning or shifting the direction of the conversation? Have you provided solution to some difficult problems, right? These are the things they are looking for when we talk about publications, right? And what we are doing is, we are taking something and just publishing, and we are increasing our rigor in methods, right? Method rigor is important. We talk about the debate between relevance and rigor, but that rigor is not okay if I just don't address a good question, a grand question or a good question that solves our problem. Rigor is required, but that's not enough. It was there important some years back, maybe 5-10 years back, but in today's context, only rigor may not help us to push in top journals, right? We need to find out some good questions which the organizations are struggling with. Again, this is taken from the Nature, their website. What they say is, the criteria for publication of scientific research, what they are saying is original scientific research. There is something original, something new, not something replicating in a different context, are of outstanding scientific importance, right? It should push the boundaries of our knowledge, reach a conclusion of interest to an interdisciplinary readership, right? Solving some problem, not just limiting to one aspect, right? And the journals are looking for all these things. Science, for example, they are saying we seek to publish papers that are influential in their field or across fields that will substantially advance scientific understanding, where the focus is not only publication but the research part. Selected papers should present novel and broadly important data, synthesis or concepts. We welcome submissions from all fields of science, right? But at least it should add some value, bring some novelty to the discussions, and that might help us. Remember, development happens when the mind expands, right? Growth is about pursuing thoughts, not things, right? And we are more and more focusing on publications because we believe it adds to my career, but probably we are not growing. So it's time we need to think and find out, can we really solve some problems, right? Now, why I'm sharing all these things with you, we are claiming that we should be a Vishwaguru, right? And I think our Vice President, he said, India to be Vishwaguru by 2047, right? We are aiming to be a Vishwaguru, and we claim to be one of the growing economies. But my question to the class is, can we be the Vishwaguru by disseminating knowledge created by others? If you look at what you are teaching to our students, most of them are written by foreign authors, right? If we replace these books, do we have any content to deliver in the classroom? That's the question I am leaving to this audience, right? Have we created our own content, right? And if we depend on others to deliver in our classroom, where do we see ourselves as a Vishwaguru? And that question I am parking here. What I strongly believe is, we have the potential, probably we are missing the directions. We can contribute to the domain of management education, we can. We have the potential, somehow, somewhere we missed that link, right? Because we are good, we know. Probably we need to focus on not only disseminating knowledge, but also creating some knowledge. It can be a case also. It can be a different approach, but at least we should create our own knowledge base. give this example wherever I go, and I feel pain. If I want to talk about culture, inclusivity, and I give the examples of US, we are a society where we lived for more than 1,000 years. We co-lived, and to bring that concept to the classroom, I have to draw from some literature derived in US or Canada. That's not okay. As academicians, we should not feel good about it. We need to create our own content, and through that, we probably aim to a Vishwaguru. So what I am trying to highlight is, let's ignite the possibilities. Yes, it's possible. And remember, to contribute to this great society, we should not stand in the borders like BSF. We should contribute in the domain that we are operating. Each of us sitting here, we can contribute to this society, and that's why I'm standing here. And this is coming from the logo of IIM Amritsar. Right? So thank you very much for this opportunity. I take this opportunity to thank IIM Amritsar, Sanket, for inviting me, and all the audience to listening to me. Thank you very much. Any questions? In case you have time.
I have a question. So how do you see industry playing a role in this research towards nation building that we're talking about, making India Vishwaguru? How do you see that to be happening?
I say the problem is not at one level, it is at multiple levels. One is we are the teachers. Number two, the institutions also need to help that way. We are so occupied with our publication, we don't have time to go to the industry. Right? Industry may not come to us because we have not contributed to them immensely. It's time we need to reach out to industry and approach them, hey, can you solve the problems? So that over time we will get their respect. We have to push ourselves a little bit. Yeah.
So are there any programs or are there any activities going on wherein industry could come closer to academia and be part of this journey?
I have limited experiences. For example, I am Indore, they are doing some industry interface where they used to call the industry guys from their locality. They will come to the campus and there will be some discussions that they used to do. And I am Bangalore also, we are trying to do something where the industry people, we are in constant touch with industry people, they come and then we interact and find out some ways. All the MDPs that we do, we don't just do as per their request, we always meet their people to understand, discuss, build relationship, and then we roll out the programs. We do, but there is a lot of opportunity to contribute. It's not sufficient.
So there are two phases to it. I just said it was more around student interaction. But let's say we want to, as I said, we want to be Vishwaguru and we want to be Viksit Bharat in recent times. So how does industry contribute to solving problems in a formal way, which can really solve those complex problems, like elevate India a step above?
One indicator is look at the industry houses where they are approaching in case they have a problem. One is you will find they will have consultants, one, or if they want to hire academicians, usually they are from foreign universities. What is that signal? They don't trust us or we are not trustworthy. Right? And how to break that cycle? So we should start approaching, and one way is, yes, we should be interested. Number two, the institutions also should facilitate that.
And one question, maybe I was thinking I will ask it after the session, but I want to go with the flow. So basically we are from industry, myself and Sachin, and when we have been into conferences so far just to evaluate how things work. What we have seen is a lot of focus on research methodology and numbers and qualitative, quantitative data and all the stuff. But when we come from industry, our more major focus is on solving a particular problem, creating the impact, right? So how do you see these two very different approaches converging together and really focusing on impact and focusing on nation building?
My understanding I will share. One is without rigor, relevance will not be there. So rigor is given, and as academicians we believe in that. If the method is not strong, I cannot believe in the outputs. If the testing is not done rigorously, I may not take that medicine. The relevance of that medicine is questionable. So we believe in rigor. What we are lacking as my limited understanding is, we are so focused on publications, we are now working in silos. So if you ask me a functional problem, I might address that, but if you ask me a business problem, I may not be competent. That's what we as academicians are struggling, probably the ability to come together, discuss that. It is little lacking, mainly because of publication pressure and all that thing. But I see it as a temporary phenomenon. We will get over it.
So,
Hello, Prof. So as you placed, this framework and you have categorized all researchers categories. So we are somewhere lying in these four broad categories. So first interesting question is, are you going to publish this type of this presentation or this work?
The statistics on India, in India, I am writing that.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully I will tell the people that yes, there is a lot of opportunities.
Second is, can you please give us some tips on art of writing? Most of the time we face difficulty into, or when we receive comments, which one particular comment is about writing skills, so which we cannot tolerate. I mean, it is very damaging to our reputation also if we receive such kind of comments. So can you please provide us some tips to how to...
The tips is very simple. You have to write.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. And my understanding, my experience is at least the FPM students and IIMs, they are good at articulating. If you ask them, they will give 1 hour lecture. You ask them to write one page, long case.
Okay.
So the one way to develop our writing ability is write, and also to read papers in good journals. The way they are arguing, the positioning of their papers, those things we need to pick up by reading those things. If I want to publish in those top journals. But writing is a must. Without writing, nothing is going to happen.
Yeah, Professor. I'm an economics faculty. So my question is that you mentioned that journals are looking for interdisciplinary readers. Same time, some of the journals, they have specifically mentioned that they are looking for interdisciplinary authors. And the thing is that I have done a research and I am looking for a publication. So I submitted my article to a journal. The journal says that it's sort of a spatial economics and regional studies literature. So they are saying that it is suitable for regional studies journal. It is not an economics article. Then I submitted to regional studies journal. They are saying no, it is an entrepreneurship journal. You can submit there. At the end, entrepreneurship journal, they said that it is an economics journal. So I don't know where I'm lacking. The journals I submitted, the journals I'm focusing, I know that it is, at least I know that my studies are apt for the journals. But I don't know why it is happening. Obviously, I'm okay for rejection, but this sort of rejection, how we can actually tackle this?
All of us, I'm pretty sure all of us might have experienced, in this academics, it's a painful experience. You think it's one of the best articles you have written, but it might get just rejected. It happens, and I'm pretty sure all of us have gone through. Pain is given because you have chosen this field, pain is given. And publishing, being in India, is also a challenging task. Because the editors who don't know what is their objectives, where they are heading. So there could be mismatch between their aspirations and our offerings. It's possible. But suffering is optional. Pain is given, suffering is optional, right? Should I just succumb to that, saying that, well, these people are not accepting my work, I should give up? Or I should come back and say, well, let me try again. That should be our focus, as academicians, because we want to contribute to the society. And we have many interesting stories to share with the world. That's why. Failure will be there, everyone I know. Yesterday I got a reject. Oh, it happens. But I have to take it in a very positive way. So enough is enough. So thank you very much for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your enlightening session. I would now request Professor Kalpit to kindly present sir with the memento as a token of appreciation. As we come to the close of this enriching and insightful conference, it's time to gather for our closing ceremony. I'm delighted to tell you all that our esteemed director, sir, has also joined us, and our keynote speaker, Professor Brent Goldfarb, is also here. Thank you, sir. This event has been a culmination of knowledge sharing, collaboration, and forging of new connections. We would like to express our gratitude to all the distinguished speakers and participants who have contributed to the success of this conference. Each one of you has played a pivotal role in making this event a resounding success. Once again, thank you all for your active participation and enthusiasm throughout the conference. As we approach to the end of this enlightening conference, I would request Professor Mahima Gupta, Dean Academics and Program of IIM Amritsar, to deliver the closing address. Ma'am, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dear conference participants, esteemed faculty colleagues, our director sir, and valued students, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the closing ceremony of the 3rd International Conference on Management of MSMEs, we call ICMM, hosted by IIM Amritsar in collaboration with Dingman Center for Entrepreneurship. This conference stands as a testament to our commitment to fostering a global perspective while addressing all local needs. The role of MSMEs in driving our nation's economic and social development cannot be overstated. They are a pillar of entrepreneurship and a major source of employment. Their impact is particularly evident in Punjab, with its impressive tally of around 1.6 lakh MSME units. The vibrant discussions and invaluable insights gained during this conference have underscored the dynamics and expansive role of MSMEs in various sectors, both in India and abroad. This year's ICMM, our 3rd edition, has been a remarkable and enlightening journey. We have had the privilege of hosting leading academics whose participation and contributions have deepened our understanding of MSME sector, its complexities as well as opportunities that lie therein. The conference has served as a melting pot of ideas, covering a wide range of topics from digital transformation, sustainable development, to innovating financing models and inclusive workplace creation. It was an honor to have Professor Brent Goldfarb deliver the keynote address for us. We also deeply appreciate the significant contribution made by our esteemed panelists from both the ministry and industry. I trust the sessions centered on publishing in leading journals and crafting business case studies and funding opportunities will contribute to enriching academic journey for all our participants. All of us were enlightened by the session on life skills by Dr. Satendra Singh Rekhi. Our heartfelt thanks to Professor N. Ravichandran, Professor Sushant Kumar Mishra, and Professor Kirti Sharma for facilitating such amazing sessions. As we draw this conference to a close, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our director, Professor Nagarajan Ramurthy, for his unwavering support and guidance. I thank the Dingman Center for Entrepreneurship for their invaluable collaboration, Professor Sanket and the conference committee for organizing such a wonderful event. Thanks a lot. And most importantly, I would like to thank all of you, all our enthusiastic participants, for your active engagement and contributions. Your presence and participation have been pivotal in making this edition, 3rd edition of ICMM, a resounding success. I feel we all would carry the insights and inspiration that emerged during the discussions in the conference. And once again, thanks a lot for being an integral part of this journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for delivering an insightful closing address. Your wisdom and guidance have enriched our conference, leaving it with us with valuable takeaways. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that we gather here today for the highly anticipated award ceremony, a moment to recognize and celebrate the outstanding contributions and achievements during this conference. Your dedication, enthusiasm, and exceptional efforts have truly set a standard of excellence. Please join me in congratulating all our awardees and expressing our appreciation for their remarkable achievements. Your dedication and passion have not only enriched this conference, but have also contributed to the advancement of knowledge in our respective fields. With that, I would like to invite the second runner-up, Ujjwal Mukherjee and Sujata Matihali, for their paper on influence of passion for work, organizational cynicism, and entrepreneurial behavior of managers on intrapreneurial behavior of employees. I would request Professor Nagarajan Ramamurthy to kindly. The winner is Jayati Chatterjee for MSMEs Technology and Adoption and Access to Finance. Congratulations, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us for the award ceremony. As we draw the curtains on the International Conference on Management of MSMEs 2024, it is my distinct honor and privilege to extend a warm invitation to Professor Sanket Vatawala, the chairperson of ICMM 2024, to deliver the vote of thanks. Please, sir.
Thank you very much, all of you all, for gathering in big numbers and participating in the 3rd International Conference on Management of MSMEs. I cannot thank enough to our director, sir, for his visionary leadership and the guidance and the mentorship that he has given us all through the conference. So thank you very much, sir. I would also like to thank Professor Brent. Sir, you traveled all the way from US. And we know the kind of situation that is happening in fog-related issues and stuff like that, but you made it here. Thank you so very much, sir. I would like to thank all our faculty members and all the reviewers from India and abroad, those who have helped us in the review process. A big thanks to all of them. All the participants, those who have gathered here, we had like 72 paper presentations, and all of them have turned up. I am really thankful to you all. I am also thankful to the HR department, the IT department, MPRC department, and transport department, Courtyard by Marriott for their warm hospitality. Finally, a big round of applause. I request you a big round of applause to all our students. PhD students, thank you guys, you have done a fantastic job. The PGP students, Anvesh, the research cell, media and public relations cell, cultural committee, photography club, 50mm, thank you all very much. I'd like to thank the academic associates, those who helped us in the process, and Simranjit, all 3 days you were standing. Thank you very much for your support. I would also like to deeply thank Professor Aswathi, the former chairperson, I am not able to see. ICMM, yes, ICMM 2021 and 22. And thank you, Professor Aswathi, you have guided us all through whatever issues were there, you were there to help us out. So I am really, really thankful to you. I am also thankful, finally, to the ICMM 2024 Organizing Committee. Thank you very much, professors. Professor Vartika, a big round of applause, please. Professor Pinaki, thank you. Professor Kalpit and Professor Nitin. This event would not have been possible without the continuous support by all the 4 faculty members. So thank you all very, very much. With that, I end my speech. Thank you.
I would request Professor Sanket to kindly provide a memento, present a memento to Professor Aswathi as a token of appreciation. I would request now everyone to kindly go to the designated area and enjoy your lunch. Thank you so much, everyone.